No, Sherry is probably going to be here. She's been sending me notices, and we've been back and forth. Sure. All right. Good morning. We are in a little bit of a flurry, making sure we have a full quorum. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Since we don't, I will mention a couple of the bills that I'm working on for next year that I would appreciate co-sponsors for. The first two are about general regulation and cleanup language for OPLC. Anyone who's interested, let me know. I'll be glad to add you. There's another one for the retirement system to eliminate the restriction of 1 year of workers' comp applying to your towards your pension. That came up when we had the severely injured policeman who said, well, I would have reached 10 years, but I only got credit for 1 year of being out on workers' comp when it was actually more like a year and a half. So yes. And so I thought that I can't think of any particular reason why, if someone is out on workers' comp, he shouldn't be included in the pension system for as long as it takes for him to recover. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll be glad to add it.
I'm interested.
You're into, okay, good.
And I'll look at the cleanup language bill for OPLC as well.
All right, I will make a note of that.
You can put me on there too if you want.
Oh, yes, please. I think it should be a few more. All right, thank you. I thought that one would be more popular. All right, then there's on municipal enforcement of building and fire codes, which was a request of the building code review board. And then there's a student license for respiratory therapists who are able to start working on some parts of their job before they get their full training and their full license. And so this would let them be employed on what they have already learned before they finish their training. So a minor one. Anyone else? Okay. I'll keep that. Good, we'll get 9 and 2, 3. All right. All right. Thank you to the new members for the day, at least. We have 10, which is a quorum. So I'm opening the executive session on our retained bills. And I want to start with House Bill 1676, which is a Sunset Commission. Representative Groda?
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1676 had to do with the sunsetting of boards and commissions within OPLC. And the committee, I think the committee's position, I believe, I'd like to discuss that, is that since the introduction of this bill was made last year, there's been a lot of changes that have taken place in the Office of Professional Licensure and Certification. And I think that before we look at changing boards and sunsetting some and sunsetting boards and commissions, we should give the organization time to orient itself and have before further actions is taken on any kind of board structure. So at this time, I don't think we should be recommending any further legislation in this area. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Okay. Okay. Does any comments, questions, discussion? Representative Dolan. The motions at least. Seconds, I've never been, never had a definitive ruling. No, that's fine. We'll, I'm not sure it matters. I'd like to say on this is that a sunset commission is a good idea to go back and look at what we're doing and decide if we still need to do it, because there's an awful lot of our laws that haven't been changed in 50 years. But on the other hand, an organized review like the Sunset Commission needs to be supported. And so far, neither of the candidates for governor has shown any interest in doing anything of the sort. So I'm not sure I would want to try and impose it at this year. Anyone else? Okay, in that case, the motion is not recommended for further legislation, and the clerk can call the roll. And all sorts of people aren't here. Yes? We have 10 at the moment, but another one, tell whoever you get to show up when they can. Thank you. Okay, got everybody?
All right, vote roll. Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Grota,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nay.
All right, is there any objections to consent if we have one? Nope, not seeing any. We'll put this on consent. All right. Representative Schuett, do you have a motion on House Bill 1324?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do. I'll be recommending to not go forward. Reason being that this committee actually put the bill into subcommittee, and we heard quite a bit of testimony both at the hearing, which was quite lengthy, and at the subcommittee. And then we decided to put it into interim study because there were still many questions about the bill that were unanswered. We basically put to the sponsors to reach out to the funeral directors. First, I guess I should say that this was dealing with the idea of natural organic reduction of human remains. And we heard questions from the Funeral Directors Association and the Cemetery Association, and also from the Diocese of Manchester of the Catholic Church. And we basically asked the sponsors to reach out to the funeral directors and the Cemetery Association to see if they could work out any kind of compromise between what they were saying and what these two groups were saying they saw as concerns with the bill. I reached out last week to Mr. Moran, who represented the funeral directors, and to the gentleman who represented the cemetery associations, and I even checked with the cemetery committee from my own town. The sponsors had not reached out to these folks. They did purport that I guess 7 states in the U.S. have adopted this policy. The one that I could find that had adopted rules was the state of Washington. And part of their rules mandated that these remains had to be collected, if no one claimed them, had to be collected in a container or many sealed containers. They also do advocate for alkaline hydrolysis in Washington, which we do not. And they put this under that statute. According to Mr. Moran, the Funeral Directors Association met with the state of Vermont, who has adopted the policy. They adopted it 2 years ago and still have not been able to craft rules dealing with it. And the main objection with this large amount of remains, we heard that it could be as much as a pickup load full. So that's a lot of material to deal with. And my point also was that all of our municipal cemeteries would have to adopt some kind of ordinance changes to accommodate these kinds of burials in their facilities. So based on the fact that there have been no real resolution to these concerns, I'm recommending not to go forward with this legislation.
I'll second. Okay. Anyone else have comments, questions? I agree with Representative Schuett that we don't need to go forward with this. Right now, it's still legal for a family to bury someone on their own land with or without any kind of embalming or caskets or whatever at their choice, as long as they just notify the town clerk that there is a body there. And with that in mind, and there are natural cemeteries where the same thing can happen. So I don't see the need for this accelerated process, and at least until they can resolve the issue of having large quantities of residue that need to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with in a respectful manner. So I strongly agree we shouldn't go forward with this bill. Anyone else? Okay. In that case, welcome to our new member. This is?
I'm Representative Walsh, Rockingham 15.
Okay, and for Lynn Bailey, Representative Bailey, who has not shown up, or actually probably for Representative Blackus, who is out of town. All right. Any other comments? Question, Representative Schmidt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think I agree with Representative Schuett that there are a number of issues that are unresolved, but that since there clearly are movements within the whole industry with regard to looking at these alternatives and so forth, and the sponsors here, so I think it needs to have a natural evolution rather than being force-fed, so to speak, by the legislature at this point, in my opinion. So I'm okay. Since this doesn't bind anybody, the sponsor can bring it back on her own if she so chooses. But I'm okay with not recommending it on the part of the committee.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. in that case, the motion is not recommended for further legislation, and the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan,
Yes.
clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Grota,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and we got 11 yea, 0 nay. Oh, and the chair. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
For that, I should vote.
We've been out for a while. So I apologize.
Thank you, Representative Cicero. Yes, I vote yes.
You had such a compelling. I like what you said. So
Fine. Okay. Any objections to consent? Okay. Seeing none, we'll do consent. Representative Brown is not able to be here, and he has told me he recommends not going, he is not recommending for further legislation House Bill 1420. That's communications between agencies and citizens. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. The reason is that that is an excellent idea, that the agencies should be responsive to the citizens, answer their phone calls, reply to their letters and all that. However, his bill as written is unenforceable. And if we tried to enforce it, we would be in a nightmare of keeping track of phone calls and when the responses were and how the calls got routed if somebody called and didn't know exactly who to speak to. We think that's something that the managers of each agency should be responsible for. And we'll keep an eye on it, but it's not recommended for legislation as such. And so that's what the recommendation is. Anyone else? Representative Schmidt? No, okay. Anyone else?
I just want to make sure, I just want the rest of the newer members of the committee to realize that the request was that they had to respond within 3 business days, which was in some cases difficult if every single call had to be handled that way. Since there was no priorities or description further than that, that was the issue as well.
Yes. And of course, there are always cases of, well, you know, Mr. Brown knows all the answers and he'll be glad to talk to you as soon as he gets back from his hospital stay or his vacation or whatever. There was no flexibility, and keeping track of it to make sure that it happened would be a nightmare. So,
I don't think it's workable. I just,
exactly. All right. So, anyone else? Those in favor? The clerk can call the roll. Thank you. To be formal about this.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Yes. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Grota,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
Okay. 11-0, the motion passes. Any objections to consent? Seeing none, we'll try consent. Okay. Representative Simon? Either one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move no future or no further legislation on HB 1653.
I'll second.
1653, yes.
Care to speak on it?
Sure. So this bill is one of many bills that we've heard over the last couple of years pertaining to benefits, retirement benefits for Group 2 employees, especially those who commenced work prior to July 1st, 2011, but hadn't been vested by whatever it was, 12. And a lot of work has gone into it. This year we were able to pass into law HB 1647, which addresses the content of this bill. And so further consideration, I think, would be unworkable and potentially redundant since this has already become law. And all of the parties that were involved seem to be okay with the way things turned out. So for those reasons, I'll say that we probably shouldn't be pushing for further legislation at this time.
Representative Broder?
The committee received 3 similar bills, and the one that we chose to go forward with was 1647. And so, since that one was the vehicle by which we had a tremendous amount of negotiations within the House and then within the Senate, we really, I know that at this time, any other retirement bills that are similar to that should not be entertained. So I agree.
Okay. Anyone else have a comment, discussion? Okay, look, in that case, the motion is not recommended for further legislation. And the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon.
Yes.
Representative Walsh.
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd.
Yes.
Representative Groda.
Yes.
Representative Schmidt.
Yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Schuett.
Yes.
Representative Howard.
Yes.
And the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
All right. Objections to consent? Seeing none. All right, Representative Simon, 1673.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to move no recommendation for further legislation on 1673 for all the reasons just stated on 1653. It's the same scenario.
I'll second that one also. Any discussion on this similar but not identical bill? Okay, in that case, the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon.
Yes.
Representative Walsh.
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd.
Yes.
Representative Groda.
Yes.
Representative Schmidt.
Yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Representative Howard.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Schuett.
Thank you. Yes.
I apologize. Representative Howard.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay. And the chair. I'm sorry, and the chair.
Yes,
11 yeas, 0 nay.
it's all right. Clerks are notorious for skipping the chairs.
It's because they put you on the top where you belong, but I'm reading downward.
Uh-huh. Anyway, the motion passes 11-0. Any objections to consent? Okay, we'll try for consent. Okay. Hoping Representative Gould would be here. Representative Broder, do you have another motion?
I have a motion for House Bill 1689 relative to the use of personal identification information by state agencies.
Okay,
And we recommend no further legislation on this. I'll explain to you. The committee, we are all concerned with the privacy of identification information within state agencies. I think it's something that we should be all on our radar, but we're also concerned that this bill particularly conflicts with the legislative requirements that we place on agencies, such as the Department of Health and Human Services. And we feel that, well, I was thinking, my recommendation would be that the committee feels that before further legislation is put forward, the nature of this legislation on agencies as well, analyzed and understood by the sponsors for further bills.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Comments? Representative Bolton, you're free to speak if you like.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. And I would agree that this bill needs to be reworked. I intend to go forward with another bill this next year. And I would appreciate ultimately when this bill, we discuss the bill and vote on it, but I would like to have any sponsors to be on the bill so that we can do it right next time. So, but thank you.
I strongly support that sentiment that we should get the bills right before submitting them. Any other comments? All right, clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton.
Yes.
Yep. Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
Okay. That passes 11-0. Any objection to consent? Okay, we will try consent. Yes, Representative Groda?
Would you like me to entertain my motion in House Bill 1333?
Certainly.
You have somebody else in mind for that? Okay, hi. I would like to make a motion of on House Bill 1333, which is relative to the prohibition of state agencies from buying or leasing electric fleet vehicles for 10 years. So all and my recommendation will be that no further legislation is taken on this. So there is a concern by some that, and by many, on electric vehicles. However, I think that prohibiting state agencies from making their own decisions on this kind of matter is not in the purview of the legislature. And also to come up with a number of 10 years, it seems also random. So for these two reasons, I don't think that we should, and that this type of legislation should not be entertained in the next session.
All right, is there a second? Second by Representative Schmidt. Okay, any other comments, Representative Simon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that electric vehicles sometimes get caught up in the whirlwind of debate over climate change issues. But I agree with Representative Groda that I don't think any further legislation should be recommended at this time, simply for the fact that we have absolutely no idea what kind of innovation will take place over the next 10 years. I know that the prime sponsors of the bill mentioned things such as our electrical grid and capacity, but we don't know whether or not the capacity required to charge these vehicles over the next 10 years is going to decline rapidly. Expense might decline rapidly. And I know there were safety concerns over battery use, but those also might stabilize over the next 10 years. And so we don't want to handicap our agencies from being able to make those kind of decisions at those times. I think all of our jobs in the government is to make the best decisions that we can with the information that we have in the moment. And so I assume that's what we'll do now and also over the course of the next 10 years. So I just don't want to hamstring anybody from by being too short-sighted in the moment.
And I'd like to add that this year we also created a commission of various stakeholders to consider the safety and cost effectiveness of electrical cars. And they're working on it. I wouldn't want to short circuit their deliberations by saying we can't buy any, because I'm sure there are some situations where electrical vehicles are appropriate in state fleets, and and I trust the agencies to figure it out for themselves. Anyone else? Representative Schmidt.
I mean, these last two remarks are especially the millstone around the neck of this proposal, to try to tie hands for 10 years, completely unwise in something that's developing as rapidly as AVs are. And as the chair's remarks are equally appropriate. So we're going in the right direction.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, the clerk can call the roll. The motion is not recommended for further legislation.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
All right. 11-0. Is any objections to consent? Seeing none, we'll do that. If there is one. All right. What do we got here? I was expecting Representative Gould to be here, but in her place, I will move House Bill 1679, Atlantic Time, to not recommended for further legislation. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And the point of this is that New Hampshire's a very small state. We don't really want to be out of sync with our neighbors. What we need a federal or at least a regional approach to time. And so until and unless Congress acts, or even better than that, all the New England states, we need to be with our neighbors on time. It's ridiculous to think that we would have a separate time zone. And I don't think we should waste our legislators' time in trying to deal with this again, however nice it would be, because we're not going to go alone on this one. Anyone else?
Ditto.
Thank you. All right. In that case, the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
All right, 11-0. Any objections to consent? Okay, seeing none. All right, now the messy ones. House Bill 1271, Representative Groda, do you have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For reasons that I stated earlier on House Bill, let me see if I can remember that one. House Bill 1676. I recommend that we don't further review the conversion, combination of reorganization of boards and advisory boards. Furthermore, we took parts of this bill. You might, well, some of you will not know this, but this committee had retained House Bill 1271. And during the course of the year, during the session, we attached the parts that the committee had not objected to onto another bill, which the governor vetoed, and we could not override the veto last week. So, and it included the combination of some of the boards. Since then, we've learned that some of the individuals on, for example, the acupuncture and Asian art board did not want to be an advisory board. And also, so I'm recommending that we just start anew and we don't particularly reintroduce this bill next year.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Schmidt. Okay, any, Representative Schmidt, do you wish to comment?
Wow.
Do you wish to comment?
My comment is no comment.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if no one wants to, Representative Bolton, you had a comment?
My comment is no comment.
Okay,
That's no.
so the motion is not recommended for further legislation, and the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Groda,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
Okay, motion passes. Any objection to consent? Okay. All right, the last one, my God, we're moving right along, is House Bill 1408, reorganization of various boards. And on the advice of Representative Gould, I'm going to move that it is recommended for further legislation on one specific area. The Board of Foresters has a requirement for a public member that is not involved in the forestry business, and they have a great deal of trouble filling that position, and they would like to have another landowner or timber owner on the board. So she is recommending that we move that forward because the board composition is specified in law. And so I will make that motion on her behalf. Is there a second? Okay. Does anyone have a comment, question, or discussion?
I do have a comment, I'll support the recommendation, but it seems to me that there would be many more non-foresters in New Hampshire than foresters, so I'm surprised that that position is difficult to fill. And why do we have we do oftentimes have public members that are not related to the field itself for biased reasons.
right.
So I just would be more, those are the types of things I'll be interested in knowing if the legislation is brought forward.
That I trust we will give it our usual dedicated scrutiny. All right, any other comments, questions? Okay, in that case, the clerk can call the roll.
Representative Simon,
Yes.
Representative Walsh,
Yes.
Representative Dolan. Clerk votes yes. Representative Boyd,
Yes.
Representative Grota,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Bolton,
Yes.
Representative Schuett,
Yes.
Representative Howard,
Yes.
and the chair.
Yes.
11 yeas, 0 nay.
Okay. Any objections to consent? All right, seeing none, we will put this on consent, or we'll try to put all of them on consent. And that finishes our work for the session. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for those who were able to support us. Representative Baldwin? Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We are...
In case this audition was to your liking, we're going to have lots of vacancies for next term, so keep us in mind.
Thank you for that advertisement, Representative Schmidt. We will have vacancies. Okay. Reports are due immediately, or as soon as, let's see, you have 2, I have 2. Representative Grota has 3, Representative Schuett has 1, and actually Grota has 4, I think. 1, 2, yeah, I have 2, Grota has 4, you have 2. All right, all the usual suspects are due. And thank you all for coming. Sorry we couldn't put on a better show, but